Part 87. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 861. Mu's eyes fell heavily on the express box, and after a long time, she turned her eyes away and returned to the dining table. Bai Wei took a pair of clean chopsticks from the kitchen and handed them to her. Mu's lowered her head to eat. The mood that was boiling just now gradually cooled down and calmed down. There is no doubt that Murong Cheng is still alive. But why did he choose to send a courier to appease Bai Wei? It's better to make a phone call. Why didn't he call? Knowing that she was worried, even if he reported her safety, he loved her so much. If he was still alive, why didn't he even make a phone call? There is only one reason. Murong Cheng can't make a phone call right now. Maybe even, unable to speak. Thinking of this, Mu's heart twitched violently. The courier should be delivered by Wang Zhan, and he didn't tell her because he was worried that she would go to Murong Cheng impulsively. Maybe Huo Zheng arranged people to follow her, and wanted to find Murong Cheng through her. Once she made a move, Murong Cheng's position would be exposed. Mu's thoughts fluttered. If she can't take the initiative to contact Wang Zhan, and can't reveal her whereabouts, how can she find Murong Cheng? After eating, Muse went to see Ceci in the snake house. During her absence, Ceci lacked care. Although Bai Wei could help with feeding, she couldn't do things like bathing and walking, so Ceci hadn't left the house for a month and a half. The smell in the snake house was very strong, and it seemed that the timid Bai Wei hadn't cleaned it properly. Muse opened the window to let the air circulate, then patted Ceci's head lightly, signaling it to go out with her. While taking Ceci for a walk in the garden, Muse looked around, but she didn't see Xiaoya's shadow, and she didn't know where she went to play like crazy, and she might not come back until evening. She asked Sis to go swimming in the lake, and she sat on a pine bench by the shore, thinking about things quietly. There were too many things to do, and she had to sort them out one by one. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Muse looked up and saw Muzening walking slowly not far away. He probably came for a walk in the garden. When he saw Muse, a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes. Muse looked away, not looking at Muzening. But Muzening didn't let go of this opportunity. After Murong Cheng's death, he always wanted to see what Muse would look like. She has lost a lot of weight. She has a slender jaw, a slender neck, and thick black hair that hangs lazily. Holding her long lavender dress, she looks even whiter and redder, noble and graceful. I haven't seen her for more than a month, and she has lost a bit of girlish innocence and a bit more charming and soft. Muzening felt that he should take pleasure in others' misfortunes and taunt her fiercely. Just thinking about one of them being blown to pieces made him feel happy. However, when he saw the coldness and sadness in her eyes, with a fragile and soft look, he couldn't help feeling a little pity in his heart. Muzening stopped, lit a cigarette for himself slowly, and asked, "Why are you back? I thought you would stay in Jingling and become the distinguished and extraordinary Miss Sidhu." The news that Muse became the adopted daughter of the president has already been spread in Xinjiang. Muse ignored Muzening, and looked at the lake quietly. His expression was as deep and quiet as an ancient pond, without a single ripple. Seeing that she was unmoved, Muzening chuckled and said sarcastically, "It's time to come back. You want to come back to collect his body." Muse discovered that Muzening really hated her very much, and chose the most vicious and heart-piercing words for every word she said. In fact, she can fight back, and her language can be more tricky and mean. But remembering that Muzening was once gentle and elegant, and now that he has become like this, it has something to do with her, so Muse chose to forbear. Arguing is pointless. "I know you hate me." Muse got up slowly, her eyes were looking forward, her voice was cold. "I won't hinder your eyes, I will move out in a few days, the family has been separated a month ago. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 862. Should have left here long ago. At first it was because of Bai Wei's nostalgia for Musai, then it was because of Mu Rongxuan's death, and now it's because of Mu Rongcheng's whereabouts are unknown. Going around, she seemed to have an inextricable bond with this place, and she couldn't separate it. Even the cardboard boxes that Bai Wei packed had been piled up in the living room for a long time, but the matter of moving was not on the agenda. There is no news from Xianghai City yet, she can't move there rashly, maybe she should find a place to live elsewhere first. In the afternoon, Muse's manager Shen Kong came back, and Muse discussed with him about buying a house. She herself is secondary, anyway, she will go to Jingling to study in half a year, mainly Bai Wei, she wants to give Bai Wei a stable place to live. Given two pets, one fond of trees and one fond of water, a suitable home might not be immediately available. It's rare to find a house with an artificial lake in the garden. If you can accept a swimming pool, it will be much easier to find, Manager Shen suggested. Muzi thought for a while, and felt that it was too difficult to ask for a lake, so she nodded and said, a swimming pool is fine. The steward said again, the crew and captain have been found. When you want to sail, you can tell me at any time. Muzi was surprised. It's only been a few hours, and it's all done. Don't think I'm sloppy, Shen Guanqi explained, the most taboo of hiring people is slowness, otherwise it is easy for people to take advantage of loopholes and put in eyeliner, is the cleanest, even if you are not capable, it is better to be fired than to be suspicious every day. If the recruitment information is released and the selection is done in a leisurely manner, there may be people with malicious intentions who pretend to be crew members and sneak in. For example, some reporters who want to dig news clues often use service roles like undercover agents. Shen Kong was selected by Situ Yan from his family, and he was extremely vigilant and thoughtful of everything. Muzi couldn't help admiring, and said, it's very good of you to do this. At the same time, I was grateful to Situ Yan for finding a good helper for myself. After 2 days, Muzi had a general understanding of the current situation. Huo Rong's power in Xinjiang was basically taken over by Huo Zheng, and the person in charge of Huake Entertainment City became a grandson of the Huo family. Huo Rong other assets in Xinjiang were also swallowed up, even the company that was given to Muzi earlier became the Huo family's assets. Huo Zheng spent a lot of effort to erase Huo Rong's imprint bit by bit. Muzi was very worried about the villa on the mountain. There are precious memories of her and Mu Rongcheng in that place, which has a different meaning to her. She deliberately asked the steward to investigate, and the result was gratifying. Huo Zheng didn't seem to know the existence of the villa, so he didn't make a move. Maybe this was a bait left by Huo Zheng. No matter what, it was not destroyed. Muzi was still happy. She excitedly planned to go to the mountain to see if the villa was in good condition. When she was going out, she met Mu Zening on the way. Muzi suddenly stopped her, I have something to tell you. Muzi frowned, stopped in her footsteps, and looked at Mu Zening with a bit of vigilance. She really wasn't in the mood to argue with him. I didn't mean to drive you away when I said those words last time. Mu Zening's eyes were as cold as ever, and his tone was also hard. Huo Zheng suffered a big loss this time, and he has nowhere to vent. Going out is to hit the muzzle of the gun, and something will happen at that time, don't blame me for not reminding you. His hatred for Muse is mixed with love, and there is nostalgia in his coldness. Muse seems to be aware of this. After pondering for a moment, he said, I will definitely move out. You know, I would rather face Huo Zheng than face Huo Zheng. I don't want to face you. Mu Zening's face turned ashen for a moment. Follow you, he turned and left, with a gloomy haze forming between his brows. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 863. I watched Musenning leave angrily, and heaved a sigh of relief. No matter how insensitive she is to feelings, she also understands a simple truth that a soft heart will make a big mistake. What Musenning needs now is not her unrequited love, but her hard heart. Miss, the steward asked. I regained consciousness and said, "It's okay, let's go." The villa was built halfway up the mountain, and there was only one road up the mountain that was only big enough for two cars to run side by side. I left some people to guard at the bottom of the mountain, and she only brought the steward and two bodyguards up the mountain. The car drove along the mountain road, and it didn't take long to see the tall ginkgo tree, which was both strong and beautiful with its luxuriant branches and leaves. I couldn't help breathing heavily. She left everyone outside and opened the door by herself. Muse's actions were very careful. She tried the door lock first, and it was not damaged by human beings. After entering the house, she carefully checked whether the furniture had been tampered with. The floor was covered with a thin layer of dust, and there were no suspicious shoe marks. I stood in the living room, thought for a while, then turned around and went to the basement. The basement was quiet and dark. Muse pressed the ceiling light switch, and found that everything was still the same. At this time, she was completely relieved. No one has ever been here. Huo Zheng didn't know this place. If he saw these things, it was impossible not to look them up. He lost his chance and will never have it again. I put all the things in the basement into the box, except for her photo. There are also various materials about the resurrection of the dead. After doing all this, she asked the bodyguard to load the box into the trunk. "Do you need someone to guard it?" Shen Guanqi asked her. "No need." I got into the car, glanced at the house through the car window, and said softly, "Let's go." She doesn't want to feel like she cares about the place. After leaving, I went to Qingjiang Wharf. When she received a call from Gu Liang on the way, she was a little surprised, and her tone naturally showed surprise. "Young Master Gu." Zizi Gu Liang's voice was soft, and her name was inexplicably charming. "Are you free? There is someone I want you to meet." "Now," Musi asked suspiciously, "is it okay to be late? I'm going to the pier now." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, and Gu Liang said, "Let's meet at the pier." I agreed. When they arrived at the pier, Gu Liang and Tong Wu had already been waiting for a while, and they brought a man of medium build with him. His forearm was bandaged, and there were unhealed scars on his face. I glanced at it, felt familiar, and was puzzled. Gu Liang said, "He was nearby when the explosion happened. I am going to send someone to take him to Xianghai. Let him see you before leaving. If you have any questions, yes, it's better to make it clear now." I's pupils shrank slightly. She suddenly remembered that this man was Murong Cheng's subordinate, and she had seen him in Huake Hotel. "You witnessed the whole process?" I stared at that person fixedly. The man said, "Master Rong wants to hand over the position of the patriarch." The 13th young master and a few uncles said that they would hold an honor retirement meeting, which is not only formal, but also to convince the brothers below. Miss Huolin told Master Rong that there will be people playing tricks on the honor retreat. Master Rong asked us to investigate, and found out that the 13th young master had arranged a group of snipers on the other side of the river. After the retirement meeting began, we lurked to the other side, killed the snipers, and then saw the yacht explode on the river. I's body froze slightly, looked at the man and asked, "Didn't you arrange the explosion?" The other party shook his head. "It was an accident." I's eyes darkened, and she almost couldn't stand up. The accident meant that Murong Cheng was defenseless at the time. For such a long time, she has been taking chances, hoping that this explosion is another trap set up by Murong Cheng, Isn't he always insidious and cunning? Why didn't he escape this catastrophe? Muzi took a deep breath, suppressing the fluctuating emotions. Take me to have a look. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 864. They boarded the yacht together. Luxury yacht sailed through the waves on the river, and the wind was strong. Muzi supported the fence, feeling a strong discomfort. At the beginning, she was pushed down on a yacht like this, fell into the river and died. After that, all kinds of entanglements with Murong-Chen began. Everything starts from here. Muzi went to the location where the yacht exploded, and also knew the location where the sniper was ambushing. She looked around, only the torrential river and endless wind were around her. She could not smell gunpowder smoke, nor could she see the wreckage of the explosion. Did you carry out rescue at that time? Muzi asked. No, the man shook his head. We are on a single-line mission. After killing the sniper, we evacuated immediately. We met 13th Young Master on the way, and I was injured. It was Gu Shao's men who rescued me. He paused, glanced at Gu Liang, and continued, after recovering from the injury, I will go to Zhonghai to meet with manager Xiao Wang. Gu Shao suggested that I stay, saying that Miss Mu should have someone to explain to me when she comes back, so as not to be confused. No, nothing. Muzi was silent for a while, then asked again, can you get in touch with Wang Zhan? Miss Mu, manager Xiao Wang brought a group of us back to Zhonghai before the accident. The original contact information is no longer available. This time I also need to inquire first when I return to Zhonghai city. If you see Wang Zhan, tell me something, Muzi said. If you ask him when he will move, he will understand. The other side nodded yes. If Wang Zhan gives a response, it means that the time is ripe and Zhonghai city is safe enough. If there is no news from Wang Zhan, it means that she still cannot act rashly. When the yacht drove back to the pier, Muzi's face was always pale. She didn't like the feeling on the yacht. Those bad memories were running around in her mind, making her uneasy. After getting off the boat, Gu Liang invited Muzi to have dinner together. Muzi shook her head slightly. Young Master Gu, thank you, but I really have no appetite. Gu Liang stopped forcing and said, I'll take you back. Muzi still shook her head. No need, my driver will. Zizi, Huarong is my friend, Gu Liang said suddenly. You are also my friend. I really want to help you. Maybe you don't need my help, but don't keep rejecting me, okay? Muzi was slightly taken aback. Sorry, I just. She opened her lips, but didn't know what to say. She murmured with a wry smile, I just feel a little tired. Going through these things made her feel extremely tired. In the end, he agreed to Gu Liang to send her off. She knew that Gu Liang was doing it for her own good. At least let Huo Zhen know that behind her was not only the Situ family, but also the Gu family's favor. When Muzi came back, Mu Zhenning was standing not far from the courtyard gate, talking to the servant, as if explaining something. He heard the sound of the car engine, turned his head and saw Muzi getting out of the car, with her long, thick, black hair rolled up, and a thin pale pink spring shirt over her dress. Her figure was light, thin, soft, and fragile. Yes, fragility, the kind of weakness that easily makes men feel sorry for each other. This kind of temperament is rare in her. She is always tough in front of him, not to say that she is domineering, but that she never knows how to show weakness, let alone be submissive. Now this vicious woman finally showed weakness. Is it because of Murong Chang? She finally reaped the consequences. She deserved it. Mu Zhenning felt that Muzi deserved it, and felt sorry for her. Some strange thoughts broke out from the layers of repressed hatred, and Mu Zhenning thought to himself, Murong Cheng is dead, maybe she will forget him. Just as he was thinking like this, he saw the door on the other side open, and Gu Liang got out of the car. talking to Muzi. Muzening's face suddenly darkened, his eyes were covered with frost. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 865. Is he pursuing you? After Muzi came in, Muzening asked her. Muzi was slightly stunned, and wanted to say that he and Guliang were just ordinary friends, but then he thought about it. Why did he explain to Muzening? When Muzening asked this question, he didn't want to get an answer, his purpose was just to humiliate her. Muzi ignored him and walked straight forward. As expected, Muzening then taunted, if you want to move to the Gu family, you can just say so. No one will stop you. Anyway, you are very skilled at such things. Very. Muzi stopped in her footsteps, turned her head, and glanced at him expressionlessly. No matter how much I mess around, I will never choose you. Muzening's face was livid, he snorted heavily, and left angrily. He has always had a bad temper in front of Muzi, but today he seemed very irritable. Muzi stood there and thought for a while, then asked the servant who had just talked with Muzening, what's going on at home today? The servant replied cautiously, it is said that the second young master is coming back, and the third young master asked us to clean up the room. He didn't say anything else. Second young master? Has Musishuan been released from prison? Muzi pondered for a moment, guessing that Muzening's gaffe just now might be because Musishuan's return reminded Muzening of his own life experience. Muzi didn't know Musishuan, and he had never even met this person. Whether he would come back, had nothing to do with Muzi, and Muzi was not interested in it. Back in Xiaoyang building, Muzi said to Bai Wei, I'm going to go to school next week. It's already April, and the end of term will be 2 months later. I can go to the training institute to study after I get my graduation certificate. I don't want to live in the presidential palace. Mom, let's buy a suite in Jingling, we can live together, the more things like houses, the better. Bai Wei didn't know what she was thinking and didn't respond. Musa said to herself, I'm very worried about Sisi and Xiao. We're going to Jingling in the future. It's such a long journey, and I don't know how to take them. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Xiao for several days. Baby, Mom, have you seen Xiao recently? Has it come back? Muzi talked a while, but didn't hear any response, so she turned to look at Bai Wei, and saw her sitting at the dining table in a daze. Mom, Muzi called out in doubt. Bai Wei woke up suddenly and came back to her senses. Huh? What's the matter? Muzi thought Bai Wei was weird. Mom, I just said that I'm going to school next week. Oh, that's great. Bai Wei smiled lightly, study is the most important thing, don't miss homework. Bai Wei paused, and said with some hesitation, Zizi, at mother's house, something happened, and my mother's elder sister is very ill. I want to go back to Bai's house to take care of her, and I may not be able to come back for a while. Are you all right by yourself? It's fine, Muzi said, I can eat in the school cafeteria. Mom, how long are you going? When Bai Wei heard this, her face was filled with confusion. Maybe a month. She also looked uncertain. Seeing Bai Wei's anxious expression, Muzi guessed that she wanted to wait for the patient to recover before coming back. As for when the patient will recover, no one can say for sure. Do you want me to visit with you? Muzi asked tentatively. Bai Wei seemed startled, and quickly waved her hands and said, No, no. Your studies are important, so don't worry about such things. Muzi felt that Bai Wei might be afraid of embarrassment, so she didn't insist. In the evening, Bai Wei was packing her luggage at home. Seeing that she had stuffed several summer clothes into the suitcase, Muzi couldn't help but said, Mom, it's not like you won't be coming back. Why are you bringing so many things? You can just bring something, what is missing later, I will ask someone to bring it to you. Bai Wei forced a smile, it's just a change of clothes, it's almost packed. After closing the suitcase, Bai Wei dragged the suitcase and walked downstairs. Mu Zi was dumbfounded. Mom? Are you leaving now? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 866. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Bai Wei dragged her suitcase and left Mu's house. Neither asked Mu's driver, nor asked Mu Zi to send someone to drive her off, saying that the Bai family had strict rules, so that the old lady would not be angry when she saw it, and finally Bai Wei took a taxi and left by herself. Mu Zi's heart was up and down, and she couldn't calm down. Bai Wei has had no contact with the Bai family these years, and now she suddenly wants to go to the Bai family. Could it be that she wants to take the opportunity of taking care of the eldest sister to resolve the years of grievances? After waiting anxiously at home for a long time, about 40 minutes later, Bai Wei called and said that she had arrived safely. Mu Zi finally let go of her heart, and asked Bai Wei on the other end of the phone, Mom, is there no one making things difficult for you over there? No, it's getting late, you should take a rest. Bai Wei's voice sounded relaxed and natural, as if she had been wronged. Well, Mom should go to bed early too. Mu Zi breathed a sigh of relief. After hanging up the phone and looking at the empty room in front of her, before she knew it, she was the only one left in the house. Mu Zi sighed quietly, rolled up the quilt, and fell asleep. The next morning, not long after Mu Zi woke up, the bodyguard gently knocked on her door. Miss, a gentleman is looking for you. There are Muse's people inside and outside the Xiaoyang building, which is already clearly separated from the villa in front. Anyone who wants to see Muse must pass through the bodyguard. Mu Zi frowned, subconsciously thinking it was Mu Zhenning. She didn't want to see Mu Zhenning, and she didn't want to hear his words full of resentment, but if she didn't see him, he seemed to have a way to block her halfway. After all, she was still living in Mu's house, and there was only this way to the outside. Mu Zi frowned even deeper. She pondered for a while, put on some clothes and went downstairs, only to see a strange middle-aged man sitting in the living room downstairs. If you say it's strange, it's not strange, because the man looks exactly the same as the old Mrs. Mu she has seen in the photo. Mu Zi immediately understood that this person should be the second youngest of the Mu family, Mu Zishuan. But she was still surprised. Sons usually look like their mothers. Although the young masters of the Mu family are all handsome, there are not many who look like Mrs. Mu, but Mu Zishuan not only looks like Mrs. Mu, but also has a very similar temperament. If there are differences, of course there are differences. After all, he is more than 10 years younger than Mr. Mu in the photo, taller, more heroic, with thicker hair and darker complexion. When Mu Zishuan saw Mu Zi, he was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, "It seems that you are really a female college student, Zi, you have grown up." Mu Zi twitched the corner of her mouth and smiled, "Second brother. Where's your mother? Isn't she at home?" Mu Zishuan asked. Mu Zi replied truthfully, "Mom's elder sister is sick, she went back to visit her." Mu Zishuan's smile remained unchanged, he nodded slightly, and his tone was a bit intriguing, "Her eldest sister is ill." Mu Zi asked, "Second brother, is there something I need to do with my mother?" "It's nothing." Mu Zishuan smiled lightly, "I haven't been back for several years, so I looked around, and the family has changed a lot. It's really big. Mrs. Mu died, Mu Rongxian died, and the last few people are scattered." Mu Zi couldn't answer these words, so he just responded casually, "Yes." Mu Zishuan stood up, glanced around, and his eyes fell on the stacked cardboard boxes in the living room. I thought he would ask something, and was hesitating whether to explain their upcoming move. Musician said, "I won't bother you, I'll go see your third brother." It seemed as if I came here early in the morning, just to say hello casually. I sent him to the door, looked at musicians leaving back, and couldn't figure out why this person came. She turned around and was about to go back to the house, when inadvertently, she caught a glimpse of a black shadow flashing across the sky. I was overjoyed immediately. Xiao Ya. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 867. Xiao, I quickly ran out, beckoning to the crows circling in the sky. "Where did you go? I'm worried." Xiao Ya was flying above I's head, and there was another crow beside it. The two birds seemed to be chasing each other, but also seemed to cooperate with each other, flying a circular arc in the sky. I was stunned. Only then did she realize that it turned out that Xiao was with her partner when she disappeared for so many days. Xiao is not like Sisi. Sisi itself is a breed of pet boa constrictor, but Xiao is still wild, and I has never wanted to restrain its wildness, and has always been free-ranging. It regards Musi as its master, but it won't cling to Musi like a cat or dog. It can always find its own fun outside. Hearing I's shout, Xiao Ya swooped over and stopped in front of I. The other crow remained vigilant and rested on a branch not far away. After seeing I for a long time, Xiao Ya suddenly saw I, and acted very surprised, jumping over to scratch I's ear on the plush slippers. Nagging, tugging, as if to signal I to go with it. I laughed and said, "Is it far away? I only put on a coat. If it's too far away, I have to add some clothes." In the morning of spring, the air is still slightly cold, and the garden is filled with the fragrance of plants and trees. I followed the little girl step by step, and finally came to a big tree in the garden. She looked up and saw a bird's nest on the top of the tree crown. It is a newly cast nest this year. I looked up and couldn't see what was in the nest, but when she saw Xiao and her partner fly into the nest together, the two crows folded their wings and nestled comfortably inside. Somehow she felt very warm. "That's great, Xiao has company." There was a faint sense of joy infiltrating Muse's heart. This was probably the first good thing she reaped after returning to Qingjiang. Because of Xiao's good news, I's slight doubts about Musician were immediately forgotten. She went back to the house and dug out the bird feed, poured some into the food bowl, and put it on the windowsill for Xiao and its mate to take at any time. She also found a telescope that allowed her to see beyond the nest. I called Bai Wei to share the good news. Bai Wei was also very excited when she heard the news, and said, "I don't know how many eggs will be laid, I really want to go back and see." I smiled and said, "You should come back sometime, it's not too far away, it's only a few dozen minutes drive away, I'll send someone to pick you up." Bai Wei's voice faltered, "Let's talk about it in a few days." I felt strange. Could it be that she couldn't spare even one day to take care of the patients? Can't the rest of the Bai family take care of it? Besides, isn't there a nurse? After another 2 days, Xiao began to lie motionless in the nest, but her mate was hard-working and flew back and forth non-stop every day. I suspected that Xiao might be hatching eggs. She wanted to tell Bai Wei, but the phone still couldn't get through. I thought, maybe Bai Wei shut down the phone temporarily because she was afraid of disturbing the patient. But on the third day, when the phone still couldn't get through, I began to feel flustered. She was worried that something would happen to Bai Wei. I asked manager Shen to check the exact location of the Bai family, and she planned to go there in person to see what was going on. Shen Kong quickly brought back news that he not only found out the address of the Bai family, but also found out some other things. Bai Wei has an older brother and a younger sister, but there is no so-called big sister, and no one in the family is sick. Bai Wei didn't go back to Bai's house at all. When Mu Ziyi heard the news, she was stunned for a long time and couldn't recover. What happened? Why did Bai Wei lie to her? There are actually many flaws in this lie, but Bai Wei has always been a good character. Mu Ziyi never thought that Bai Wei would lie to herself no matter what. Why is she doing this? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 868. Mu Ziyi held the phone, flustered. She is not sure now whether Bai Wei avoided answering the phone on purpose, or if something happened and she couldn't answer the phone. Thinking of Bai Wei's soft temperament and Huo Zheng's potential threat, Mu Ziyi felt anxious. She couldn't wait any longer, something might have happened to Bai Wei. Mu Ziyi called Zhang Xi. She wanted to call the police. Although missing persons were not under the control of Zhang Xi's department, they were all in the police station, and it was easy to handle the matter with acquaintances. Zhang Xi comforted Mu Ziyi and told her not to worry, saying that they would investigate as soon as possible and would notify her as soon as they had any clues. The police retrieved Bai Wei's consumption card records and found that she had stayed in a hotel recently. The front desk of the hotel said that Bai Wei left with a man. Because Bai Wei was beautiful and the man was tall and handsome, the front desk lady was very impressed with them. Mu Ziyi went to the police station, and when she heard the news, she was stunned. She couldn't believe it. You mean, my mother didn't disappear, she eloped with a man? Mu Ziyi thought this was ridiculous. The police officer also felt embarrassed. Miss Situ, I didn't mean that, I just wanted to express that from the surveillance, Ms. Bai was not subjected to coercion, so, we may not be able to file a case. In the hotel's surveillance video, the man was walking in front with a suitcase, and Bai Wei followed behind with her head lowered, with no expression on her face. Mu Ziyi recognized that man, it was Mu Zishuan. Shocked and angry, she kept adjusting her breathing. My mother can't go with him. This is simply impossible. Zhang Xi patted the policeman on the shoulder lightly, and said, Go out, I'll talk to her. The police officer hurriedly left the room as if he had received an amnesty. Zhang Xi locked the door and said to Mu Ziyi, This case cannot be settled. Zhang Xi, Mu Ziyi broke down a bit, she must have been forced. She can't go with Mu Zishuan voluntarily. When ordinary people see such beautiful women, they will doubt their loyalty, but Mu Ziyi knows Bai Wei too well. Bai Wei adores the old man, it's love deep into his bones. Old Master Mu has been dead for so many years, Bai Wei still sheds tears when thinking of him. She can't go with another man. Zizi, calm down, Zhang Xi persuaded her, no matter what the truth is, as long as this case is settled, it will be equivalent to telling the world that Bai Wei and her stepson in name have run away. Think about her character. How can she bear it? No one will believe her. How could a beautiful woman be willing to be a widow for a bad old man who has been dead for more than 10 years? When people talk about it, they will only find it fragrant and exciting. Mu Ziyi thought about this clearly, and her face turned paler. She was concerned but confused. Just now, she just wanted to arrest Mu Zishuan, but she forgot that Bai Wei is a fragile and sensitive woman. I'm going to find young Master Gu. Mu Zi bit her nails anxiously, I can't let Mu Zishuan go. I must find them. Although Mu Ziyi also has someone in his hands, they are newcomers, far less than the Gu family's news network in the entire Wenzhou. This matter cannot be investigated clearly. It would be great if young Master Gu could help. Zhang Xi pressed his hand on Mu Ziyi's shoulder and said, I will also ask my colleagues to check the traffic monitoring, maybe we can find out. In which direction did they go? Mu Ziyi nodded, feeling a little bit of anxiety and indignation in her heart. Damn it, she slapped the table angrily, full of self-blame and annoyance. After she returned to Xinjiang, her mind was full of Murong Cheng and Huo Zheng's affairs. She didn't pay attention to this Mu Zishuan at all. All she knew was that he was Mr. Mu's most beloved son. Other than that, she knew nothing about him. What exactly is Mu Zishuan going to do? Where did he take Bai Wei? The update time is adjusted to 11-12 o'clock every night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 869. The disappearance of Bai Wei was the second blow to Mu Zi. There are few people in this world that she cares about, but they lose one after another, and she doesn't even know the reason. In addition to confused guesses, there is only anxious waiting. She can't do anything about what's going on. Mu Zi's nerves were tense to the extreme. She couldn't go to school. She stayed at home every day, staring at Bai Wei's empty wardrobe in a daze. Zhang Ci didn't allow her to be depressed and dragged her out to drink. You have to understand that she left voluntarily, Zhang Ci persuaded. She is an adult with the ability to act independently. Where she wants to go and who she wants to go with is her freedom. Zizi, you don't have to because of this self-blame. Mu Zi stared at the fine bubbles in the cold beer and remained silent. Zhang Ci continued, she took the initiative to pack her luggage and went out. No one forced her, right? She lied to you, took the initiative to stay in the hotel. No one forced her, right? She followed Mu Zishuan out of the hotel. No one forced her, right? Mu Zi said in a low voice. Zhang Ci, you believe me, she really can't voluntarily go with Mu Zishuan. I don't know how to explain it now, but Mu Zishuan, this person must have used some kind of method, coerced Bai Wei. Zhang Ci sighed helplessly. The last time the traffic surveillance captured them was at the intersection of the highway. At least in the photos, it can't be seen that she was being coerced by someone. She's timid, Mu Zi frowned. She's the kind of person who can be intimidated by just a few words. It doesn't mean coercion when a knife is put on her neck. Mu Zi looked up at Zhang Ci. Can you find out where they went by checking the license plate number? Zhang Ci shook her head. I checked, the license plate number is fake, the car is a very ordinary Volkswagen. As long as you get off the highway and change the license plate, no one knows where they go. Mu Zi's heart kept falling, extremely depressed. If Mu Zishuan took Bai Wei away from the border of Wenzhou, even Gu Liang might find it difficult to find them. I know that you may not like to hear it, but... Zhang Ci took a sip of wine and said, one is to pack up and go to the hotel in advance, and the other is to prepare fake license plates and cars in advance. Leave, no matter which police officer takes over this kind of missing persons case, they will think that the two of them eloped in a planned way. Zizi, elopement is not illegal, and the police can't handle it. Mu Zi opened her mouth to defend herself, but Zhang Ci said, I know you're very anxious now, but it's useless to be anxious. At least for now, it seems that Mu Zishuan didn't mean to hurt her, but the two of them disappeared at the same time. I really should think about it carefully, how to cover it up in the future, if there is any news about this matter. If there is any news about this matter, even if Bai Wei is found in the future, Bai Wei may not have the face to come back. Mu Zi took a deep breath, and said in a low voice, I will move out of the Mu family. People in the Mu family will only think that Bai Wei moved out with me, and they won't doubt it. Mu Zishuan and Bai Wei disappeared at the same time. If they didn't come back for a long time, the servants would definitely talk about it, and Mu Zi didn't want to hear any gossip. Mu Zi decided to move out as soon as possible. Shen Kong had found a house for her, and coincidentally, it was the place she had been to, Judge Duan's house. Duan Yuhui said that taking his son to travel around the world is actually going abroad to seek psychological treatment. The advice given by the psychologist is to accompany and listen more, and it is best to change the environment. Therefore, even if you return to China in the future, you will not continue to live in the original house. Duan Yuhui's garden villa is spacious and beautiful. Although it doesn't have an artificial lake and is not as big as Mu's house, it can definitely be regarded as an enviable mansion. Muzi brought someone to move in the next day, together with her pet snake. It's just that Xiao can't take it away. It's still incubating its eggs and doesn't leave the nest every day. Even if the eggs hatch, Xiao has to take care of its babies. Muzi can only give up. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 870. On the day of moving, Muzi stood outside the small mansion and asked the gardener to move out the 2 bushes of roses outside the door. It must be exactly the same, Muzi ordered. The position cannot be changed in any way. The rest of the luggage will be carried with them, except for these 2 clusters of flowers, she repeatedly reminded them. These are the roses that Murong Cheng had someone plant under her window before, in the shape of 2 hearts, and she wants to bring them to her new home. But she will take away all the things she values. When Xiao's children leave the nest, she also wants to take Xiao away, if Xiao is willing. Manager Shen hired sufficient manpower, and all the luggage was quickly loaded, so he came over to ask Muzi to get on the bus. Muzi squatted down, gently touched the python's head at her feet, then got up and walked outside the big iron gate with Sisi crawling slowly behind her. Not far away, Mu Zhenning stood outside the hall and watched her quietly. Her figure is slender, her rich black hair is shining in the sun, and her skirt is slightly raised with her steps, making her look elegant and luxurious every step of the way. She is like a dignified and charming lady, but she is accompanied by a huge piebald constrictor, which seems to be a label, always reminding Mu Zhenning that she is vicious, ugly, and disgusting. Mu Zhenning remembered that the snake once belonged to Murong Cheng, and he hated it even more. This woman is as disgusting as Murong Cheng. Muzi got into the car, and Sisi also slowly climbed in. His body was too long, he could only coil up a few times, curled up in the back seat of the car. It was not very comfortable, so Sisi was a little irritable, and Snake Zinza kept stretching out, testing the surrounding environment. Muzi put its head on her lap, stroked it gently to calm its emotions. The car door was closed, and several cars left the gate of Mu's house one after another without a trace. Mu Zhenning returned to the room, grabbed the colored glass ashtray on the table and smashed it. The colored glaze was smashed to pieces, and together with the remaining soot inside, it was spread on the floor, layer by layer of crystal clear and layer of ash. Mu Zhenning didn't know what he was angry about. Angry at her leaving? Or, anger that he can't get it? On the first day Muzi moved into her new home, Gu Liang came to see her. She sat alone in the luxurious living room, the lake blue leather sofa was soft, half of her body was sunken, and a pair of slender and white legs were exposed under the snow silk skirt. Sisi stretched his body and occupied the entire back of the sofa, his smooth and round chin rested on Muse's lap, motionless. Gu Liang glanced around. Probably because she just moved in, there are still some boxes waiting to be sorted in the living room, and the newly hired servants are also in a hurry. Fortunately, her manager is a capable person, and the assignment of things is orderly, and there are rules in the chaos. Zizi, you can live with me, Gu Liang said. No, it's good for me to live here. Muzi's voice revealed exhaustion, her soft body was leaning against the python, a bit decadent, but also showing a bit of weird beauty. Young Master Gu, is there any news about my mother? She asked. Gu Liang was silent. After a while, he said, my people found out that Mu Zishuan stayed in Fengxian City. Stay, Mu Zi was suspicious. He took 30 million from his fund account in Fengxian City. Gu Liang paused and said, it's cash. Mu Zi's heart sank suddenly. To find someone, you need traces. There will be traces when buying train tickets and air tickets, and traces will be generated when credit cards are used for consumption, but if musician avoids public transportation, chooses to use cash, and then drives on a deliberate remote route, the sky is big and the earth is big, no one can find him.